This commenter brings up something I hear a lot of. He says, God is all there is, energy, words of men, etc., etc. I hear that God is energy quite often because it's so hard to describe God because most people give him like these immaterial characteristics, like he exists, but he doesn't actually have any material properties or time properties or anything like that. So they'll say something like, well, he is energy. And this is logically incoherent for a couple reasons. First, because energy is a measured rate of change over time. For energy to exist, there must be change and there must be time. That being said, a lot of people think that energy is also like a thing. It's something that exists, but that's not actually true. Let's talk a little bit about what energy actually is scientifically. Now, if you remember from grade school or possibly junior high, you've got two basic types of energy. One is kinetic, one is potential. And so, like, kinetic energy is energy that's being expended currently, and potential energy is the ability to do things, to move, to change. And so that's why most people would say, like, a basic definition of energy is the capacity to do work or actually doing work. But even that's kind of ambiguous. What are we really talking about? Well, as I mentioned before, it's just the rate of change in any given material system. So, for example, we know that something is changing inside of a light bulb. That is something that is measurable. But the energy itself doesn't actually exist. Energy is actually more of a concept than an entity. And according to most definitions from classical physics and mechanics, it says that energy is a conceptual and mathematically useful property. And that is a good way of looking at it. Energy is not a thing, it's not something that actually exists. It is a conceptual method for calculating or quantifying the properties of any given material entity. So energy itself doesn't actually exist. It's like a language. We've created words to describe abstract concepts. We've created numbers in math to describe physical realities. In fact, if I have two rocks, I can actually touch the rocks, but I can't touch two because two is a concept. Just like energy, energy is a concept. I can touch the material thing that is changing, but I cannot actually touch energy. All that being said, calling God energy isn't actually the worst analogy in the world because I can agree that God doesn't actually exist. Anything that we attribute to God, any attributes, any characteristics, those are things that we've invented and applied it to God. But God just simply doesn't exist. Just like energy is actually a measure of change within any given system, but energy itself just doesn't exist. It is a mathematical concept to describe something.